Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into a truly incredible story called The Millionaire's Hope. It's this amazing tale of pure resilience, but honestly, it also doubles as a brilliantly structured English learning journey. So we're going to break down the narrative together, pull out some really useful vocabulary, and even practice a bit of pronunciation. And we'll do all of this while following a story that proves, well, that where you start absolutely does not dictate where you finish. Okay, look at this number, 7. That right there represents the 7 zeros in a bank account belonging to a guy people actually used to laugh at. I mean, they literally called him the boy with dirty shoes. Everyone told him he'd never amount to anything important. But spoiler alert, that same boy grew up to own 3 companies, a massive house, and, you guessed it, a bank account with those 7 zeros. So it begs the question, right? How exactly did a boy starting with absolutely nothing become a millionaire? Well, let me introduce you to Diego. He was 14 years old, living in this small, kind of dusty town called Rio Seco, right next to a super busy market. His family was incredibly poor. Actually, scratch that. They were barely surviving. Every single morning, before the sun even thought about coming up, Diego was awake. He'd carry these incredibly heavy baskets of tomatoes and onions to the market just to sell them. He had to step up to provide for his family because his dad was sick and just couldn't work. His situation was simple, but man, it was heavy. No money, no education, zero opportunity. He just had an empty stomach and shoes literally full of holes. But despite this endless daily grind, Diego held on to a dream. He dreamt of a life without hunger, a life where his mom wouldn't have to cry at night over unpaid bills. He had this one absolutely crucial thing that money couldn't buy. He had hope. Now, every day, Diego would walk past this little bookstore owned by an older guy named Mr. Alvarez. Since Diego obviously didn't have any money, Mr. Alvarez was kind enough to let him stand outside and just read the first page of any book, totally for free. Well, one rainy afternoon, Diego is standing there shivering under the roof, just trying to read, and Mr. Alvarez steps out and throws him a total lifeline. He says, "What if I give you a job? You clean my shop every afternoon, and you can read literally any book you want." And hey, let's take a quick second for a pronunciation tip right here. In conversational American English, that phrase, what if, usually gets mashed together into almost one word. It sounds like, what if? Try saying it out loud with me right now, wherever you're sitting. What if? What if I give you a job? See? It makes your English sound so much more natural and fluid. All right, let's switch gears and do a rapid-fire pit stop for some vocabulary. We want to lock in a few key English words from this explainer. First up is poor, which simply means having very little money. The anchor example from our story is pretty straightforward. The poor boy had no shoes. Next, we have dream, something you hope will happen in the future. Now, for Diego, his dream wasn't about fancy cars or luxury. His dream was just a life without hunger. Simple as that. Then we've got hope, which is that feeling that good things can happen. As we just saw, this was basically Diego's superpower. Even walking around with torn-up shoes, he never, ever lost hope. Moving on to opportunity, a chance to do something good. When you think about it, Mr. Alvarez didn't just hand Diego a broom, right? He gave him an opportunity, a real chance to read, to learn, and to completely change his trajectory. And finally, shiver, to shake because you are cold. Remember that rainy afternoon outside the bookstore? She shivered in the rain, Diego shivered while reading. It's a really vivid, physical word that sets a scene perfectly. Okay, while we're under the hood looking at the mechanics of the language, let's tackle a super quick pronunciation rule for the past simple tense. We use this for finished actions in the past. Now, most regular verbs just add that ed at the end, but did you know it actually makes 3 totally different sounds? Let's practice these out loud together. First, the T sound, walked. Try it, walked. Next, the D sound, cleaned, cleaned. And lastly, the ID sound, wanted, wanted. Seriously, mastering these 3 subtle little differences will instantly level up your spoken English. All right, let's jump right back into the story. So for 2 whole years, Diego cleaned that shop and read literally everything he could get his hands on about money, business, and success. But then, the totally unexpected happens. A really wealthy businessman named Mr. Torres walks into the store looking for a super rare book on investing. The owner, Mr. Alvarez, is stumped. He has no idea where it is. But Diego knew every single inch of that shop. He immediately points out that it's sitting on the top shelf, 3rd from the left. Well, Mr. Torres was floored. I mean, here was this 14-year-old kid who somehow knew the inventory better than the actual owner. Torres looked past the dirty, torn shoes and just saw this incredible, sharp intelligence in Diego's eyes. So he looks at him and asks, "Do you want a real job? Something that pays?" Just think about the tension in that room for a second. Diego's heart must have been beating right out of his chest, having this life-changing chance suddenly dropped right in front of him. So how did Diego capitalize on this? Let's map it out. First, he started small, just delivering packages after school. He was the first one in, the last one to leave, soaking up everything about how the business actually worked. Second, he saved every single coin he earned. He was incredibly disciplined. By the time he was 19, that's step 3, he used those savings to start buying vegetables directly from the farmers. He cut out the middleman entirely and resold them for a profit. And then, step 4. Oh man, on his 21st birthday comes the huge twist. Mr. Torres calls Diego into his office. He reveals that he'd been quietly watching Diego's insane work ethic for years. He told Diego, "You remind me of myself 30 years ago, poor, hungry, and determined." And right then and there, he made Diego a full business partner in his multi-million-dollar company. And let's be clear, he didn't do it out of pity. He did it because Diego absolutely earned it. Flash forward 10 years later, and Diego's life is unrecognizable. He owned 3 companies, including a massive food distribution business and a small publishing company that he actually named in honor of Mr. Alvarez. And yes, he finally built his mom that beautiful new house. But the best part? He never forgot his roots. If you walked into his fancy office, sitting right there inside a glass case were his old, torn shoes, a daily reminder of exactly where he started. So, you can see how perfectly language and story go hand in hand here. Let's do a super quick recap of the vocabulary from today's explainer. Think back on these with me. Poor, dream, hope, opportunity, shiver. And from the second half of the story, wealthy, determined, foundation, profit, courage. We also dug into natural conversational phrases like what if and I earned it. Getting comfortable with words like these, that's what gives you the tools to tell your own story of determination. All right, focus up because it is time for a mini quiz to test your active listening. I'm going to ask a question, and I want you to literally shout the answer out loud before I reveal it. Ready? Question 1. What did Diego sell in the market? Come on, say it out loud. The answer is vegetables, specifically tomatoes and onions. Huge props to you if you remembered that exact detail. He hauled those heavy baskets every single morning without fail. Okay, next up, quiz question 2. Who was the kind bookstore owner who gave Diego his first real chance and let him read books for free? Think way back to the beginning of the story. It was Mr. Alvarez, the incredible guy who saw a shivering kid in the rain and provided that very first spark of opportunity. And finally, question 3, what did the wealthy businessman Mr. Torres give Diego for his 21st birthday? What was that big, life-changing twist? A full partnership in his business. He didn't just hand him a cash bonus. He gave him a seat at the big table because Diego had put in years of grinding hard work to earn it. Fantastic job if you went 3 for 3 on those. Ultimately, the source text leaves us with this incredibly powerful core message. Small steps, repeated daily, create huge results. Whether you're trying to master English or basically any complex skill, you really have to remember Diego's story. You don't need to be perfect to start. You don't need all the best resources in the world. You literally just need to keep showing up every single day, exactly like Diego did at that bookstore. Practice daily, even if it's just for 10 minutes, and I promise you, one day you're going to look back and be absolutely amazed at how far you've come. To wrap up today's explainer, I've got a quick homework assignment for you. I want you to take one of our key vocabulary words, opportunity, and write one complete sentence using it. Leave your sentence in the comments or text responses wherever you're seeing this. Use it as proof of your daily practice and share your progress with the community. And before you go, just ask yourself, if a boy with literally nothing but torn shoes can build $1 million empire just by showing up every day, what could you achieve with the opportunities sitting right in front of you? Thanks so much for joining me today. Keep learning, keep pushing, and I will see you in the next explainer.